Hey girl, what's up?
Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and welcome to my weekly vlog for Monday, April the 12th, 2021, vlog number 212. And it's the 397th day of COVID memories. Yeah. But one good thing is, and I'm going to say this right off the bat, is Walter and I got our first shots. We got them last Tuesday. We got them at the pharmacy. They called us, actually they texted us to let us know that our appointment time was ready, and in we went, and well, we were there about half an hour or so. We waited to get the shot, but they were pretty much bang on time with that, according to what we had as an appointment plan. And then they made us wait 15 minutes after we'd had it to make sure we don't pass out, drop dead on the floor from a reaction. And we didn't, and off we went. So we've had the first one. It's the AstraZeneca vaccine, and I know there's a lot of controversy about that, but that's all that's available to us at this point in time. So, you know, what the heck, get it. You beggars can't be choosers, I suppose. They didn't tell us when exactly we're going to get the second shot, but by the sounds of things from our government, we've got about 4 months to wait. So probably into late July or middle of August, something like that. And then we'll be fully immunized. That is, if this stuff really does work. And what about the variants? And there's still a whole lot of if, buts, and ands. So I'm not going to go crazy here and go, yay, I can't get COVID, I can't get COVID, nah. Nope. No. That's not what the immunization does. It just reduces the risk of getting it very severely, like putting you in the hospital kind of a thing. But anyways, I'm going to come back to COVID. Of course I am, because, well, that's what I'm going to talk about today, is the fact that where I live in Ontario, Canada, the whole province is now under a state of emergency, stay-at-home order from our government. A little bit too little too late, I think, but we'll talk about that. But right now, let's talk about my latest project, and it's right here. And it's a table runner. And I needed a bit of a break from my usual kind of stuff. And when I need a break, what I'll do is I'll often do a small project that can be done in like a couple of days or a few hours or whatever. This one took me a couple of days working on it off and on. It wasn't steady. I mean, I could have done the whole thing in one day. It's not that hard. It was a pattern that I saw on the YouTube for Jordan Fabrics. It's a Donna Jordan pattern, and anything Donna Jordan creates, she makes available free as a PDF file off their website. And I've gotten a lot of really great patterns from her. And one of the things about Donna from Donna Jordan from Jordan Fabrics is she writes very clear instructions. So anyways, I put this together. I've been dying to use some of my butterfly collection of fabrics, and so that's what I used here. I wanted something more spring-like, though I'm not really sure if these colors are associated primarily with spring, but you know, I love blues and purples and things like that. There's a little yellow in it. And this is on my dining room table upstairs. I had another table runner up there. I have actually several that I kind of swap out during the seasons. And I didn't really have anything for spring, so I thought, oh, I'll make this one. And I did, and it turned out pretty good. Now, you can't really see it probably in the video, but I did do free motion quilting on this. I did a very simple design. It's not perfect, but you know, it's better than what I have done in the past, so that means I'm getting better. I'm still trying to get over that block I have when it comes to doing free motion quilting. Okay, and I'll probably say more about that tomorrow, because right now I'm about to quilt that carpenter's wheel quilt I showed you a couple of weeks ago. So I've got it all layered and laid out on my tables in my rec room, ready to go. I just need to move my sewing machine out in that room, and we'll see what happens. But I'm going to talk more about that process, because I did a couple of things different this time in preparation for quilting, and I think that's better to be spoken about during the next version or next edition of the Idiot Quilter, and that'll be tomorrow. Okay, so that takes us to YouTube channel of the week. Again, it's another man who crafts. I'm not sure if I can say this person's name correctly. I think it might be Kyian, Kyian, but his YouTube channel is called Kyian By Design, and he's got some very interesting DIY projects. I have got rented lips this morning. DIY projects for those people who want to do those kind of things. Love Dollar Tree, want to do it on a budget. So check it out. This week's YouTube channel of the week is called Kyian By Design. Not sure how to say his first name. But this is part of the men quilters, not men quilters, but men's crafters YouTube hop that happened a few weeks ago. He does a variety of videos on home decor and on makeovers, DIYs, and shopping hauls. He does shopping hauls at the Dollar Tree and at IKEA and other spots as well. And he's full of tips and tricks on how to keep your home modern looking and how to do decorating on a budget. So if you're into that kind of thing, you might want to check out his YouTube channel. That is Kyian, or Kyian, not sure how, Kyian, By Design. So the link for that YouTube channel is in my show notes below, as is the link to the latest episode of the Idiot Quilter, episode 109, and the latest episode of So Chatty, episode 3, where we talked this past week, about the Continental M7 by Janome. That's my principal sewing machine. And there is a link to Stephen and Walter Live. And I am very pissed off with myself about Stephen and Walter Live. I've been playing with new technology, as you know, and I have a program called OBS. Now, that isn't really a new piece of software. It's been around forever, and many people use it if they have multiple cameras and they're doing live streams. So I have been playing with it for the last week, and yeah, I really like it and everything, and it seemed to work really well. I did some experimental live broadcasts that only I could see on my YouTube channel, and it was working fine. And I decided to include some pictures, some graphics, and a little slideshow because we decided we wanted to talk about, well, it was a suggestion from a viewer that when I asked for, ideas, because we're running out of them for Stephen Walter Live. And when I say running out, I mean we've run out. Boom, we're bottom dry right now. If nothing happens in our week, it's going to be really boring. Although you might say, why would that be unusual from any other time? But someone suggested that they'd like to see where we live, like our area, what, the sites, so to speak. Well, this is Oshawa, Ontario. Oshawa, Ontario is famous for being headquarters for General Motors Canada, and we had a huge car manufacturing plant here at one time. It has since been reduced over the years, but it used to be the principal employer in this area. It's not so much anymore. But I guess that's our claim to fame. But there is an estate here that was owned by Colonel Sam McLaughlin, who is the gentleman who basically was the first president of GM Canada. And there's a whole history of how that happened. But one thing about him was he was very rich, and he gave money out. He built a lot of key institutions in Oshawa. Our hospital, our library, our art gallery. He gave money to all kinds of organizations. He donated property to the Boy Scouts forever, and that happens to be in my backyard. So we thought we'd start with Parkwood, because a lot of movies, that's what the estate is called, a lot of movies and television shows film parts of them at Parkwood. It's one of those kind of locations that's great for all kinds of different types of movies and television shows, and you have seen it somewhere because these are not obscure television shows. So I prepared a slideshow showing you what the grounds look like so we could talk about it in the whole bit. Do you think I could get the sucker to work? I rehearsed it, I practiced it, I fine-tuned it, it was working fine for me. Then when I went to the live broadcast, well, what you're going to see is a black screen. in parts. And you're going to hear some cursing and swearing, or at least it was going through on my head at the time why this wasn't working. So I apologize for the quality of this past week's Stephen and Walter Live. I'm still playing with the technology, and I may just go back to the way we were doing it before. I even bought a new camera. I'm going to talk about that a little later under new products. I just don't know what went wrong. So, and of course, you know, when you want technology to work the most, that's when it's going to let you down, for sure. And that's exactly what happened to me yesterday. So, I'm sorry about that. Hopefully, I will have the bugs worked out and for next week. Okay, so that takes me to what's pissing me off this week. Okay, we have been issued, as I've said at the beginning of the vlog, we have been issued a stay-at-home order. Not a suggestion, an order. Only essential businesses are open that sell essential items. What is an essential item? Well, mainly food, okay? Although there are a few other exceptions to that, like drugstores, you know, you gotta get your drugs, stuff like that. Yes, this is a good thing. I am totally in favor of the government doing this, and it's in place for 28 days. So sometime in the first week of May or something like that, we may be out of it. But our numbers have shot right out the ceiling. You know, well over 4,500 cases a day. That's more than we've had ever in a day on a monthly count, kind of a thing, in this province. Yes, there are vaccines being rolled out, not very fast. Part of that has to do with the supply chain and, you know, how soon Canada gets it and then how soon our federal government gets it downloaded to the provinces and everything like that. And then there's all the logistics of getting it into everybody's arm. Okay, lots of problems with that. A lot of weak links along the way too, which have delayed this. But I guess the philosophy of the government right now, according to, you know, they listen to the experts, they say, and that's bull roar. They do not. This Ontario government has ignored many of the recommendations that have come from doctors. But basically we're put in this situation because our hospitals are at capacity, pretty much, in intensive care. And so we've got a crisis. We have a crisis with our healthcare system anyways in this province. And it doesn't matter which government parties in power, they all are the same. They don't want to throw money into, you know, health or education because heaven only knows those are not important. They'd rather throw their money in behind the banks and the big businesses. But now I digress. So they've issued this stay-at-home order in hoping to keep the number in intensive units down. Also to allow the vaccine to catch up, supposedly. So, you know, more people are getting at least the first shot and all of that, and that's supposed to be a good thing too. I guess it is. So that's their plan. But I also said it's a little too late is what it is. We should have gone into this stay-at-home order literally months ago. We should have in February been in this situation. And the government was told that. And they just kept ignoring the advice of the experts. I don't know what goes through their heads. Well, yeah, probably a lot of air, because I know there's nothing stopping anything in there like a brain or anything like that. There couldn't be. I mean, really, do you need a medical degree to understand what's happening? I don't think you do. It's a disease. It's highly contagious. It can result in death. How do you not get it? By staying away from lots of other people. But yes, on the other lockdowns, the big box stores were still open. Walmart, Costco, all of those. Oh yeah. Everybody was practicing 2-meter distance from each other. They were wearing their masks. They were sanitizing their hands. Only so many people were let in at the store at a time, and the aisles were marked with arrows so you knew which ones to go up and down, follow the path. There, you know, all this kind of stuff. Bullshit. The stuff was there, but it wasn't being controlled. In the case of Costco, our Costco, yeah, you may have stood in line outside, But once you got inside, it was game for all here. Like people were every which way. They were getting closer to you. You know that it was just hell and chaos. But the reason they could be open is because they sold food. Well, the government finally, after a lot of businesses, a lot of health authorities, a lot of other people in the community, finally convinced them that maybe it wasn't fair for the big box stores to stay open so people could buy anything they wanted, whereas the mom and pops, because they didn't sell groceries, had to close down or go to curbside service. So they finally did it. They turned around and said, okay, Costco, Walmart, you can be open, but the only thing that you can leave open is where there is food, the necessities. All the other aisles have to be closed. I haven't been to either one of those stores since this, so I have no idea if they're following the rules. Apparently there are hefty fines if you don't. Yeah, that's a joke. That's a joke. And of course, everybody's being told that you shouldn't have any contact with people outside of your own home, the people you live in. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. We've heard this all before. And what do people do? We just had, a week ago from this past weekend, we had Easter. What were people doing? Numbers went up. Yep, they all had to get together. Nothing says Easter celebration like giving grandpa and grandma the disease and they're dead on Easter Monday. Maybe they'll rise again. I don't know. But yeah, and of course the churches were all balking at the thing. Well, we need people. It's Easter. My God, they've got to go into the church. No, you don't. I don't believe in organized religion, but that doesn't mean I don't believe in spirituality. And there are many ways to become spiritual with your belief system, your philosophy, your God, whatever. You don't need a building for that. And I'm sure God will forgive those of you that thought you need to go into a church building during this time. Oh yes, I know the Christians will say this is a test of faith. Yeah, I don't think so. At least in my world, my God is nice. He, she, it, them does not put harm in your way to test you. No. But anyways, that's almost a whole nother conversation, isn't it? So back to the stay-at-home order. So I'm all for it. We're doing our part. We're staying at home. And hopefully this one will have an effect. We'll see. But really, it's just the blatant disregard for human life is what it is amongst these animals. They're not human beings, they're animals that are, bucking the rules. Going out, gathering. The young people are doing it a lot. Our universities have outbreaks in them. Why? Because university students are university students. They're going to party, and with each other. 2 beers in, you feel absolutely free to do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Disease won't get you. You're young. Yeah. So, yeah, we're enjoying the stay at home. Well, it's pretty much the same as it's been for over a year. So there we are at that. I have to admit, I'm getting, there's been some days lately where I've been feeling a little down. I don't know if it's the change in the seasons, I don't know, or it's just COVID fatigue setting in. I'm tired of all of this. I'm tired of listening to people fighting against common sense rules. I'm tired of the government throwing statistics at us and manipulating numbers in their favor. I'm tired of it all, and I don't think I'm alone. And it is starting to get to me at times. So I just have to bury myself into my crafts and go on from there. Okay, so that's what I was pissed off this week. So people in my province, in Ontario, they say stay at home. It's not a suggestion. Do it. Just do it. Your life will be actually drastically improved if you do. So stop going on and on about your personal rights and all this stuff. That's just BS. Get over it. do your duty. Be a good citizen. Be a good neighbor. Be a nice human being. Okay, so product review. Well, it's pretty much all fabric. Now, I was mentioning earlier, though, before I get into the fabric, that I bought a new camera. So this is the camera that I bought from Amazon. I have never heard of the make. It is called, well, here's the box it came in. If you can pronounce what it's called, good luck, because I don't know how you say that. N and G together. It looks like Get Tube with an N in front of it. And a Get, oh, maybe there's an A there too, stylized. So it's Ang Tube. I don't know. Obviously made in China. But supposedly this was touted as being a great camera for live streaming. It actually has a ring light built into it, which is kind of cool. And this may have what caused all my problems yesterday with Stephen Walter Live. I decided 30 minutes before we go live to switch out my cameras and use this one. And it looked like it was much clearer than the other camera and great. But in the process of doing that, I screwed up something else and I don't know what. So this is part of the experiment that I'll have to do a little later on today to get things up and running. So I have that. And then, of course, I said I bought fabric. Yes, I did. I'm going to go through these in a little bit more detail tomorrow and show you what projects these are mine. But these all came from Runaway Fabrics. Runaway Quilting. I'll talk about them tomorrow. And I think they're very pretty. And I do have a project in mind for those. I also went to another, I'd never dealt with this other one before. It's called, what's it called? Mad About Patchwork. I think they're close to Ottawa. Stintsville, I think, is the name of the town they're in. So they're not that far from me, maybe 3.5 hours, something like that, 4 hours. So I ordered from them. I am impressed with their service. They were very fast, very efficient getting my order out. They had a good selection of fabrics. Price-wise, not bad either, in the ballpark. So I bought a couple of bundles from them. Now, you know that was looking for, and I do have it now, the City Lights by Northcott, the fabric with the panel with this cityscape in the background, and I have a quilt I want to make from that. Well, they had fat quarter bundles of the whole line available. So I bought this kit. I just liked the fabrics in this, and so I thought I'd like to have some fat quarters around it. So I bought that. And they had another bundle. This is, I don't know who the designer is of this right now, but I thought these were very pretty. Now, there are pinks in here. I'm not a fan of pink, but I liked this bundle. I think there are, I don't know how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I think there's 14. 14 something. I don't know. I don't know if these are fat. I imagine these are fat quarters. It might be half meter bun. No, I think they're fat quarters interior. Well, so I have no plans for these at the moment, but they're pretty, very pretty. So we'll see. And I am going to open this up and show you what the fabrics actually look like tomorrow on the Idiot Quilter. So if you're interested, check it in. Check me out then. Okay, and also at that same company, I decided, well, if I had $150, I got free shipping. And that's a great gimmick, you know, because it's not hard to get up to that amount of money. But I was a little short by about 20 bucks or so. So I decided to invest in this book. I've seen this book before, All-in-One Quilter's Reference Tool. And basically it has charts in it. I haven't been through it yet because this bundle, this arrived 20 minutes before I started recording the vlog today. Yeah, so that was at about 7:45 in the morning, and it was delivered by Canada Post. That is unusual to get things that early. Maybe it's because I complained about the service. Yeah, that's a story for another day. Anyways, it's got charts and things about measurements, about piecing, conversions, yardage requirements. So I thought it might be a good reference tool to have. So that put me over the $150 mark. I got free shipping. Yay. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay. So what's that take us to? That's all that I bought this week. So now it takes us to my stories about my grandmother, and I want to talk about the dark room upstairs. Now, last week I talked about the Cabinet of Horrors. Listening to some of the things, she stuffed her chihuahua, she stuffed everything and put it in a cabinet with all these little creatures that would stare at you. And now I'm going to talk to you about a dark room. Was my grandmother a witch? Could be. I don't know. Loved her anyways. But yeah, she had this mysterious room in her house. Now, I think I mentioned before that the house that my grandparents lived in was a house that was built probably around the very, very early 1900s, like 1909 or something like that. So it's over 100 years old now. In its day, I think it was a fairly grand house. Now, you have to take in consideration that I come from a family of farmers generations back. And I do believe this house was on property that was owned by my great-grandfather because it was right next to his farm. Now, I don't remember my great-grandfather because I think he died the same year I was born. I think he died in 1957. I'd have to check my genealogical notes about that kind of stuff. But anyways, so this house was in its day, I think, a fairly nice house. And my grandparents kept it up too. Well-built house as well. But upstairs were a couple of bedrooms and then a couple of storage rooms. Now, one of those storage rooms, my grandfather kept his hunting paraphernalia, his decoys and his shells and stuff like that. The other room, the dark room, was my grandmother's storage area. We were never allowed in that room when I was a child. Even when I got older, I was never allowed in that room. I didn't know what was in there. On the odd occasion when my grandmother would go up to that room to get something from it, we would follow her up the stairs, but she would not let. She'd open up the door just a crack, and it was all dark in there. Slip in. My grandmother was not a very big lady. Good thing, because this was actually built in sort of a dormer situation. So, an average sized person would bang their head on the ceiling in there. But my grandmother was only about 4'2". So, she fit in very nicely. But we were not allowed in there at all. We weren't allowed to even see in there. I did get a glimpse once or twice. I saw there were shelves in there, and there were little glass things sitting on the shelves. I think they were probably, little gitchy ornaments and things like that she may have had out at one point in time, and then over the years, how things like that you start to put back in a closet. But it was spooky. And I always wondered if there was something, when I was a little kid, is there a person living in there? And at night in the house, when we were staying like there for a weekend or something, I'd hear strange noises from the upstairs. The upstairs actually scared me as a little kid anyways. I don't know why, but it did. I guess because there was some old furniture up there that came, from 50 years past or something, and it scared me. So at night, under the 12,000 quilts my grandmother had on the bed, you'd hear a noise, and I'd swear it was coming from that room. These are things that horror stories are made from. Now, in reality, the sounds I'm hearing was an old house settling. Old houses creak. Nothing in there. What's in that room? To this day, I had never actually been physically inside that room. When my grandparents passed away and my parents were getting the house ready for sale and they cleaned it all out, I asked my mother, I said, so what was in that room? She says, oh, nothing. She says, just a bunch of dusty old knickknacks and stuff in there. So, yeah, that was, the reality of it is not as interesting as my imagination version of that dark room. But I will always remember watching my grandmother checking to the left, checking to the right, opening the door slowly so it creaked, and then sliding in as soon as the crack was wide enough, and then shutting the door. And then we'd hear nothing. 10 minutes later, my grandmother would emerge. Spooky, eh? So anyways, that's another tale about my grandmother's dark room. Okay, so that takes us to the 3D corner. And yes, I'm making things for the heck of making things. I made him. This is Blinky Fox. I made him out of purple. Detail is really good on this, as you can see. I forget how long he took to print. I think he was about an 8 to 10 hour print. I'm not sure who he is. I kind of looked him up. I think he comes from some kind of animated thing or a computer video game or something, and they call him Blinky Fox. But I just thought the detail was really good, and he's nice and shiny too. And I also made the Evergreen, the ship that got stuck, or Ever Given. I'm not sure what it's called. On the they were calling it the Evergreen on one side of the ship, and then at the bow of the ship it said Ever Given or something like that. Either way, it's the ship that got stuck in the Suez Canal. And this is the one I told you about that I thought was hilarious. They've got all these little ships and everything, and this is actually a micro SD holder. I had the option whether to print it that way or not, and I thought, well, let's make it useful. But I think the detail is very, very well done. And it's a good piece of history, and it's funny. It is funny. Disasters are funny, aren't they? Yeah, really, no. This part in the bottom was a reject that I had in my reject box, and I just decided that instead of sitting it down flat on my desk, I'd like it to be propped up a little bit. So I just hot glue gunned that to the bottom, and it's like a little pedestal. So yeah, fun. And I'm starting to get into printing things that have to do with landmarks in the world and great works of art. And so I did Venus de Milo. There she is. And again, I did this one in marble filament, and she turned out really good. The detail is quite nice. I had to use supports on her. Actually, I think I may have been able to print her without supports, but I did use supports. But those worked out okay. And speaking of landmarks, had to have a CN tower. This is tiny, tiny, tiny. I don't know, it reminds me of those things they stick up your nose to check for COVID. COVID tower, yay. But kind of cute. Now, I tried to do one bigger than this, and I had a problem. I was just mentioning supports. Well, for some reason, I think I didn't need supports to make this one, so it was sort of the test. So when I blew it up to about 200 times its size, I thought I had the support feature on my slicing program turned off. I guess I didn't. And basically what I got was from here down, one great big huge cylinder. Now, if I'd worked at it, I'd probably get the pieces off, but it's not worth it. The one thing that's kind of interesting about this particular model, the person who designed it also designed it so that you can print it out in pieces, assemble the pieces, and it will make a model of the CN tower that's 1 meter high. I'm not going to bother with that, but you know, I printed out a little one. And then the last thing that I printed out, I saw this, everybody seems to be in love with this articulated frog. Let me take a book here, show you what I mean. So you see, his little legs dangle. And he's kind of cute. I did him in the bronze. They call this bronze. I call it olive green, but that's what the filament is. And the detail's really good. And it printed it all in one piece like this. And so, some strings here of filament. It came off the bed being able to do this. I didn't have to assemble anything or whatever. And I find that amazing. I've done other things like that octopus I showed you a few weeks ago. Same idea. They're articulated legs or whatever. But yeah, that's why I did them. I wanted to see, you know, if he would print. And he did. So yeah, I've been busy doing those things, and right now my printer is going. I'm doing a Statue of Liberty. We'll see how that turns out later today. I'm doing the Statue of Liberty in copper. Okay, so that takes us to the next part of my Rose Bowl album project that features blending 3D printing with mixed media. Okay, so my roses are all done now, and as you can see, they are very pretty. Not very realistic, but then again, if I wanted realism, I would have gone for silk roses or real roses. So what I want to do next is, there's a little dot of paint I don't want on this. I may have to pull little things like that off every now and then. So what I want to do is I want to stick them to this, and this is actually going to become sort of like a little inserted lid in here. And then I can just use this to open it up. That's my theory. I don't know how this is going to work, but we're going to see. So I've got my glue gun all heated up here, and I'm just going to start gluing these things in here. I think I'll take that out for a minute because I don't want the glue to drop down through this hole. So I'm just going to set it right there. There we go. And then I'm going to put some of these roses. I'm thinking, should I lay them? Yeah, I think I should lay them a little bit. And I think I'm going to run out of glue here, and I am. So I need another glue stick. Okay, got one. I'm being pretty generous with this glue. Yep, see, it ran through the hole at the bottom. I knew that. That's why I didn't put it in here to start with. And we're going to stick another one over on this side. Let's see. I'm just going to kind of go around. Why can't they make a glue gun or glue that doesn't have strings? You know, the little glue strings that hang out from everything. It drives me crazy. And the last of the large roses. Oops, that's hot. Burn, burn. Okay. Now we're going to take these ones and do some filler. Now, do I want to lay them more like that? No, I think I want them to pop up a little bit. Actually, I'm thinking this is looking kind of pretty now that I see them mounted on here. Okay, so I've got that there, and now I've got these little ones, and I'm thinking of just sticking these little ones. Actually, I could have used a few more of the little ones. Oops, there goes my glue gun. And stick one. I'm just going to stick these on the four sides, sort of fill in the spaces. Ooh, I've got glue all over me, which is not unusual. I'm a messy crafter. I really am. Okay, so we want to get 2 left. Ooh, these strings are everywhere. And the last one over on this side. Okay. So let's see what it looks like if I put it inside here. Voila. Cool. That is kind of neat. You can see it from the side. Now I'm thinking, do I need... I was thinking earlier that I might add a little bling to this with a little light coating of fairy dust glitter. So I'm going to dig that up. I'm thinking I'll spray this with some semi-gloss sealing agent, sprinkle a little fairy dust on it, spray it again, and let it dry, and that'll keep the fairy dust on it. So I've got to get my supplies for this, so I'll be back. Okay, I've got my low odor clear gloss spray, sealing spray, and I'm having a little trouble with the sprayer up here, so I don't know how this is going to work. Yeah, it's not going to work. So I got to play around with the sprayer, see if I can find one that's not all gummed up. Okay, so I soaked this in a little bit of acetone, and that seemed to free it up a bit, and I've got a coat on here. I'm just going to sprinkle now very lightly a little bit of my fairy dust. Okay, that's probably enough. And now I'm just going to tap off the excess, another one of those blue strings. Still clogging up on me, but I might be able to make it work. Okay, there's another string. Alright, we'll let that dry and see what happens. So that takes us to events in the past week. My mother, she's fine, but apparently confused. I got a phone call last Tuesday afternoon. Usually I talk to my mother on Tuesdays at 11 o'clock in the morning on FaceTime. I have sort of a standing appointment for that. Well, last Tuesday, that's when I got contacted about getting my COVID shot, and that conflicted with our FaceTime schedule. So I simply canceled that one and rebooked it for the next day. In the meantime, later on the Tuesday afternoon, I got a call from one of the administrators at my mother's nursing home saying that she had forms that she was helping my mother fill out, but my mother didn't seem to understand or be clear about what it was she was doing. Now, my mother does have the ability to make decisions for herself. It's noted in her records. I am the power of attorney kind of a thing, and usually my mother leaves all the decisions to me because she doesn't want to make the decisions. But technically, they have to have her consent for whatever they're going to do. It doesn't matter whether I give mine or not. So that's fine. So I have been explaining to my mother how this whole moving from the old nursing home into the new one's going to work. And I also told my mother that I had been contacted by the government office that looks after, getting people in the nursing homes. And my mother was still on a waiting list for several nursing homes. Now, I had left it that way to give her choice. We didn't know how this nursing home she's in now was going to work out at the time. In fact, it wasn't even one of our top choices. However, since then, we have learned that this is the best place for her and that they're excellent there. So there's no need to have her on this waiting list for other things. But there's one nursing home on there that my mother's always had a fixation with because it comes from the town next door to us where I grew up and where my mother's lived most of her life. And she wanted that as her first choice. Well, it has a 7-year waiting list, basically, 5 to 7 years at the time. But I did put it on there at the time. Well, now she's going to have the opportunity to move into a brand new nursing home. So it's in the same town she wants to be in. It's right next door to her best friends where they live in their retirement apartment. It's ideal. Same staff, same training, everything. It'll be fine. In fact, it'll be better than fine. It'll be wonderful in comparison to where she is now because it's all brand new and the whole bit. I explained this all to my mother. We went over it. I'd asked her, you know, did she have any questions, any concerns or anything? She said, no, that sounded great, wonderful, fine and fine. So when the staff member came in to fill out the paperwork for all of this with her, my mother became suddenly confused and obtuse. She, oh, you'll need to talk to Stephen. He looks after all this. He makes all the decisions. So they did talk to me. And I explained to them what I just explained to you. And I said, look, I've got a call scheduled, FaceTime call scheduled with my mother for the next day. And she said, oh, do you mind if I'm in on that call? And I says, no, fine by me. Basically what she wanted to do, I said, I will go over all this again with my mother. I think she wanted to make sure that that's what I was doing. Now, they know me pretty well over at the nursing home after the last 2.5 years that my mother's been in there. They know that I'm in constant contact with my mother. They know that I'm trustworthy, that I'm not trying to take my mother for a ride, but of course they do have to protect the interests of their residents, and you know, that's fine. I don't hold that against them. You know, they just have to make double sure. So okay, had the call with my mother the next day. Staff member wasn't there. I didn't see her. I'm talking to my mother. I said to Mom, is Jennifer in the room? She says, no. I said, well, who's there? She says, somebody. I said, okay, fine. So I talked to that person and told her, you know, Jennifer said she was coming to this meeting. She said, oh, did she? This person didn't know anything about this. I said, yeah, she wrote it down and everything, said she wanted to be in on this meeting. So she said, well, let me go check. Well, it turned out Jennifer wasn't in the building because Jennifer had taken a sick day. Fine. I don't care. That's great. And I said, well, can you just let her know when she's back, that I've had this conversation with my mother because this person was standing there listening to the whole thing. She says, oh yeah, sure, no problem. Next day I get a call from Jennifer apologizing profusely. She had a family emergency or something. He said, well, that happens. That's okay. I said, did they tell you what I told my mother? No. And I got a little snippy at that part. And I said, well, this is a problem I've been having lately. I deliver a message to someone there to go to somebody, and I said, and it never makes it. I know they're busy, but that's besides the point. And I am going to bring that up again if I get an opportunity, whatever. But okay, so I told her, well, this is what went on, so it should be fine. I don't know. I said, I'm talking to my mother again on the following Tuesday, 11 o'clock, FaceTime, if you want to be at that one. I don't know if she's going to be at that one or not at that one. I just want this situation solved. This is not a major problem. But, anything that affects my mother does become a major problem for me because I have to sort it all out. So anyways, but besides that, my mother seemed to be in pretty good spirits, so that's a good thing. Okay. Wally cooks. Nope, not this week. Didn't have any video to show you what Wally cooked. I cooked and I didn't take any video of it. I did what I would call Italian version of chicken cordon bleu. Why is it Italian? I don't know. I found it online. They said it was Italian. Did I follow the rules to make it? No. I've made cordon bleu before. Cordon bleu, you basically take a chicken breast and you butterfly it. And then you pound it out a little bit. And then you put in a layer of like Swiss cheese or a cheese with more flavor, not your processed stuff. You put in some ham, thinly sliced ham, or you can use this recipe called for prosciutto, which is an Italian ham, basically. I didn't have any. I used regular ham. And you spice it, you put a little some seasoning on it and whatnot. And this recipe called for, and I did like this, to like spread a little Dijon mustard on the chicken breast halves as well. Put that stuff all in, fold the chicken breast over, seal it up, pinch it up, and then now what I would normally do is I usually bake it, roast it in the oven. At that point, I make a sauce, my own concoction, that I put over top of it and bake it. Well, I did pretty much the same thing this time, except they wanted you to do it in a frying pan, and they wanted you to dredge it in flour, the chicken breasts in flour, and then, you know, put them in a frying pan and do them that way, which was fine, you could. But I decided I didn't want to do it quite like that, so I just browned the chicken breasts after they'd been stuffed and dredged in the flour, and just browned them a little bit, put them in the baking dish, made my sauce, put it on top, baked it, and actually it came out pretty good. Walter seemed to like it, so that's high praise. He didn't use the word fine when I asked him how it was, because if he says fine, it means it isn't. Never make it again. So I don't have any video of that. Sorry. We did have Craft and Chat in the past week, and everybody knows what Craft and Chat is. Do that the first Wednesday of every month at 1 p.m. till 4 p.m. and everybody just does exactly what the title says, Crafts and Chats. We had a small group this time. We never have a huge group, but it was a little smaller than usual, I thought. But it's not quantity, it's quality, and I had a good time. I think everybody else did. So the next one will be on May the 5th. That's the first Wednesday in May, I believe. 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I always post the links for the Craft and Chat the week before in the vlog and Idiot Quilter, and now in So Chatty and Stephen and Walter Live. And you can pick it up there, and it's a drop-in kind of a thing. So you might put it on your calendar if you're available and you're interested. And of course, I already told you about getting the vaccine shot, so I guess that was the highlight of the week. Now, did we have any reactions to it? I didn't mention that. Yes, we did. I get a flu shot every year, and I never ever have a reaction to the flu shot. I know some people do, but I'm not usually one of those people. And yeah, we did have some side effects. Nothing severe. I felt a little tired, and I'd heard that that was one of the side effects. When I went to bed that night, I did ache a little bit, you know, all over. Not horribly so, but it did make sleeping a little difficult. Walter had the same thing. Walter had chills with his. I didn't have any chills with it, but he had chills. He had the chills fairly bad in the night. He said he was like, couldn't get warm, whatever. My arm where they put it in was a little sore, but that's not unusual. I have the same thing sometimes with the flu shot, so, and that went away. And all of these symptoms. So I did run a slight temperature, but very slight. I think it was 99.2 or 0.3, something like that. So nothing. You have to expect that. It's your body, you know, reacting to the drug. So that was all I had with it, and as I said, that those lasted less than 24 hours. By the next day, I was fine. I was still a little tired, but that may just be the weather. I don't know. But anyways, I've had the first shot, and yeah, it'll be nice to get the second shot in. Now, some people are claiming that they didn't have any reaction to the first shot, but when they get a second shot, those that have been lucky enough to get it, that they have some very severe reactions to it. I don't know. I think it just depends. Well, I know it depends on the person and your chemical makeup and everything like that. But that is not an excuse not to get it. Believe me. And you can't get COVID from the shot. Okay? It's like these crazy people. A lot of them tend to be nurses, I have found. Well, actually, a lot of them are educated people, I have found, even teachers with it, who won't get the flu shot because they'll get the flu if they get it. No, that's not how immunization works. But anyways, I'm not a biology person or a medical professional, so look it up. Okay, so what's coming up? Well, next weekend, starting on Friday night and going through Saturday and Sunday, I am off to a virtual retreat. This is put on by the Quilter's Way, Chatterbox Quilts. You've heard me talk about that group I belong to. And Kim, the owner of and operator of the Quilter's Way, is throwing Energize 3.0. We've had a couple since then. They're lots of fun. She usually has some special guests lined up too, and prizes and things like that. And so I'm looking forward to that. And that's coming up starting Friday night. I love what she does on the Friday night of it, and I'm thinking of adopting this kind of idea if I ever do another Idiot Quilter retreat. She has a little kind of official opening of Energize and a cocktail party. Virtual cocktail party, and I think it's a great idea because we partake in that, and people get on there and they all have their drink of choice, whatever, and we talk, and it kind of breaks the ice, especially for those people that might be new to the Quilter's Way and doing this for the first time. You know, just gets them used to everybody else and makes everybody feel a little bit more relaxed with the group. We don't really do any sewing on the Friday night. This only goes on for about an hour or so, which is fine by me because I wouldn't want to start sewing at 7 o'clock on a Friday night. And then the next day, I'm not sure what the time is. I think it's usually, I think she starts at around 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Kim lives out in Calgary, so time is different out there for them. They're 2 hours behind us, I think. So anyways, I haven't looked at the official time yet. All the posting and all the details are supposed to be coming out this week. Yes, you need to be a member of the Quilter's Way to be part of this virtual retreat. And I don't know if Kim's taking any new members yet. She did for a while, but I think that closed up. So, you know, if you were thinking about getting involved with it, you can go and check it out at the Quilter's Way. I don't know what you'll find out there about it because it is sort of a private group. But you can check it out anyways and see. Okay, so that's coming up, and I'm looking forward to that. So that means I got to find some projects to work on. Well, like I've got lots to. It's not finding them, it's deciding what I want to work on. And yeah, that's about all that's coming up this week. Being in a stay-at-home kind of situation now, all of that, and that's what we're doing. So no choice. Oh, I did order some hiking boots. You know, I showed you a few weeks ago, we went for a walk in the woods and could only go so far. Of course, now all the snow is gone, so now it's just muddy, I'm sure. But Walter had ordered a pair of hiking boots, and he didn't tell me he'd ordered them. And they came yesterday. So that was nice. So I tried them on, they fit me well, so I ordered the same ones, except he got his on sale. It's not on sale anymore. So I don't know how long it's going to be before I get those. And then we can go tramping through the forest on our merry way. I'm going to get a little red hood and a big basket and go off and visit Grandma and the wolf. Okay, must be time to finish this up because now I'm just rambling. So, final note here. Ontario people that live in my province, please listen to the government order. Please obey the government order. Please do not rationalize why you should get together with 50 of your closest friends who do not live in the same house as you. Please do not rationalize in thinking that if you've had the first shot that you now are completely immune and you can never get COVID again. Please don't think of that. Please think of other people. Just stop being so self-centered and self-righteous about this and do what the authorities are telling us to do, because no matter what your politics are, right now they do have our best interests in mind for this, and we have to work together to get out of this black hole. If I could slap you across the face because you're disregarding this, I would. So consider this a virtual slap. Okay? Anyways, stay happy, stay healthy, stay in for sure, especially if you live in Ontario. And we'll see everybody next week. Bye for now.